Arizona Governor Jan Brewer signed a tough new anti-immigration law into effect Friday. Since then, leaders from San Francisco to Metro Detroit are protesting, even threatening to boycott the state.
Arizona law gives police the power to question anyone reasonably suspected of being an undocumented immigrant. And people are now required to carry papers proving their right to be in the United States. If they're without papers, you can be charged with trespassing and jailed for up to 6 months. Arizona's governor argued the tough law is necessary because the federal government has failed to stem the tide of undocumented immigrants in Arizona.
A pretty extreme law. It basically comes down to almost ethnic cleansing for the state of Arizona. I don't know how they're going to do that. How are they going to do that? Especially given the history of Arizona. Arizona belonged to Mexico, so there's people that have been there long before the border.
It was the latest and perhaps largest protest against the law known as HB 56, passed earlier this year. One key provision authorizes police to detain anyone who is suspected of being in the country illegally. Supporters say it's intended to help legal residents by pushing illegal immigrants out of the workforce.
They is illegal, and they are getting most of the jobs that we need right now.
2 weeks ago, a federal judge in Alabama upheld the law's main provisions.
This is the border fence that separates Mexico and the United States. Day and night, hundreds of immigrants from Mexico and Central America are trying to break through this fence and find work and a new life in the USA.
Todos los días intentan cruzar a los Estados Unidos con el fin de ganar dinero, pero no. Todo el tiempo lo echan fuera. De 100 gente pasa 5, 3. No nos quieren nosotros los mexicanos.
It is because of illegal immigrants crossing in towns like this one of Agua Prieta that the US Congress recently deployed the National Guard and is considering building a vast wall to defend its border with Mexico.
A Mexican teenager is dead, shot by an El Paso Border Patrol agent. But 24 hours later, little has been explained about why the agent used deadly force and if it was justified.
First in HD, this is News 4 Tucson, live at 5.
Good evening. New details are emerging tonight surrounding a teenager shot and killed by a Border Patrol agent last week. The quick facts: a funeral was held yesterday for 16-year-old Jose Antonio Elena Rodriguez.
This country is a land of dreams. It can be a hard place, a cruel place, but it's where I work, and I dream of a better life for my son.
So, what do you think?
Blasco's truck? Yeah, it's all right. Seen it before.
It's not Blasco's truck anymore. It's ours.
You ain't got a license.
Don't say that too loud, okay?
Alabama's new immigration law, recently upheld by a federal judge, is now starting to have an economic impact in the state. Representatives of the agricultural and construction industries say they are losing a significant portion of their workforce. And it's against that backdrop that the state's Hispanic community is voicing opposition. The Mi Pueblo supermarket in Birmingham closed its doors yesterday, joining Hispanic-owned businesses across Alabama to take a stand against the state's tough new immigration law.
We, all the Hispanics, we should be together to represent, how we feel to the state about it.
The work stoppage also hit the poultry industry. The parking lot was almost empty at a Tyson Foods chicken plant in tiny Albertville.
On the day Governor Nathan Deal signs the immigration bill into law, downtown Atlanta is bustling with visitors, but opponents say that may not be the case after news spreads.
We know that whenever there's something like this that gets passed, there's a call for boycotts. With the economy that we have in Georgia and with the unemployment, one of the last things we can afford is to have something like a boycott.
Mike Burlawn, the chair of the Democratic Party of Georgia, says he not only expects millions of dollars in tourism revenue loss, but big losses for Georgia's agricultural business too when immigrant workers leave the state. Burlon says the only group of Georgians who will actually gain economically in all of this are the lawyers is to sue the state over a law they call unconstitutional. Lawyers like Charles Cook.
There are specific provisions in this bill that are specifically prohibited by federal law that our legislators chose to ignore when they enacted it.
Cook is working with several national groups on a federal lawsuit. Arizona and Utah are fighting similar suits, and it's estimated that battle could cost the state millions, prompting our tough question. You're concerned about the economy, but you admit that fighting you in a lawsuit is going to cost the state money, so why add to that problem?
Fighting the lawsuit will cost them millions. Destroying the economy will cost them billions.
Okay. What comes to mind when you hear the word illegal immigrant?
Mexicans.
Do you think all illegal immigrants should be granted amnesty?
Yes.
Why?
They come to the United States for a reason, and that reason is to get help or to get a better life.
Why do you believe this?
I believe this because my mom lives in Mexico, and I wish she was granted to be legal here, and she will be here with me.
Okay, thank you. What comes into mind when you hear the words illegal immigrant?
When I hear the words illegal immigrants, first thing that pops into mind is basically the border, Calexico, everything that has to do with actually the intertwining of both cultures, because what it really is just one individual trying to go to another country just to better themselves or a family they had to provide for.
Do you believe all illegal immigrants should be granted amnesty?
Not all of them, but I believe that a few of them that actually come to this country to make it better, just to better themselves, just to try to find a job to provide for their families. I think those should be granted citizenship.
Why do you believe this?
I believe this because, like I said, I think this way because a lot of my family members and close friends are all illegal immigrants, and they've received their citizenship after a while. And I have from first-hand experience I know of people who have had the certain situations of them trying to get their citizenship, and knew how hard that was on them, and not just them and everyone around them, their family, and everyone was just stressing, and it was crazy.
Okay, thank you. What comes into mind when you hear the words illegal immigrant?
Well, what comes to my mind is immigrants, the fight between whether they should be allowed to go to the U.S. and illegally, they should be granted amnesty. That's what basically comes up to my mind.
Do you think they should be granted amnesty? Why or why not?
I think they should be granted amnesty because they're willing to work for money, and the U.S. needs to realize that they want to have a good life, and they're willing to do anything to get what they want.
Okay, and lastly, what has shaped your view? Why do you believe this?
Well, it's because when I go to Mexicali, I see when I'm going to cross the border, I see many immigrants, many illegal immigrants trying to go to the U.S., and it makes me feel bad because I know they are willing to work hard to get money and for their family and everything.
So, what comes into mind when you hear the words illegal immigrant?
What words come to mind? Underdog, hardworking.
Okay, do you think all illegal immigrants should be granted amnesty? Why or why not?
Amnesty, no. No, amnesty's too broad, includes too much. Just like any occupation here in the United States, being a felon, being a criminal does preclude you from many rights. And I think that needs to apply to people that are here undocumented also.
All right, what has shaped your view on this topic?
I actually am married into a family of legal immigrants that went through the process. It was very rigorous. It took them 7 years. They did all the right paperwork, did all the right, when I say right, they went through all the right legal measures to become citizens. It was arduous, it was painstaking, but they did it right. And I do see that side of it. I've also seen the other side as a Border Patrol agent of people just trying to make their life better. My first arrest as a Border Patrol agent was a 37-year-old lady. She was scooting around the fence with her 3 little daughters. I picked them up, put them in my car, and I just thinking to myself, this is rough. This lady's not guilty of anything except loving her children. So I've seen both sides of this argument, and I believe the answer is in the middle. No, full amnesty, no. Send everybody back, no. That's not the right answer. We need to start meeting in the middle in America.
All right, thank you very much.
No. Send everybody back, no. That's not the right answer. We need to start meeting in the middle in America.
All right, thank you very much.
Here in his second inaugural address.
Our journey is not complete until we find a better way to welcome the striving, hopeful immigrants who still see America as a land of opportunity. Until bright young students and engineers are enlisted in our workforce rather than expelled from our country. During my inaugural address, I talked about how making progress on the defining challenges of our time doesn't require us to settle every debate or ignore every difference that we may have. But it does require us to find common ground, move forward in common purpose. It requires us to act. I know that some issues will be harder to lift than others. Some debates will be more contentious. That's to be expected. But the reason I came here today is because of a challenge where differences are dwindling, where a broad consensus is emerging, and where a call for action can now be heard coming from all across America. I'm here today because the time has come for common sense, comprehensive.
And now to the first in a series of conversations about a key issue making its way through Congress. We're calling it Inside Immigration Reform. The Senate Judiciary Committee took a big step last night toward providing a path to citizenship for 11 million undocumented immigrants living in the United States.
The votes are 13 yeas.
It passes.
3 Republicans joined 10 Democrats to approve the measure and send it to the Senate floor by early June.
A comprehensive immigration reform can increase the U.S. GDP by $1.5 trillion in over 10 years. This according to Dr. Raul Hinojosa Ojeda in his article, Raising the Floor for American Workers, the Economic Benefits of a Comprehensive Immigration Reform. The same article argues that deporting all immigrants can lead to a loss in $2.6 trillion in GDP over the same time span of 10 years. The only true answer to our question is a comprehensive, bipartisan immigration reform.
That doesn't happen at every committee markup hearing, trust me.
From digging in our pockets for a reason and to say goodbye. These are lives that built America.